What if the most unforgettable moment of the night wasn't planned? What if it wasn't scripted? And what if, for just a few seconds, two stars forgot the cameras, the crowd, and the rules of the industry? Because at the Vogue Gala, something happened that no one could rewind. Chen, Zheyuan, and Chen shared a kiss on stage, and in doing so, quietly confirmed that their love story had already begun, long before anyone was watching. And this time, it wasn't acting. Some moments do not announce themselves as important. They arrive quietly, almost unnoticed at first, and only later do we realize that everything after them feels different. That night at the gala was exactly that kind of moment. The room was filled with familiar elements, lights, cameras, rehearsed elegance, yet something subtle shifted when they stood together on stage. The air felt less controlled, less polished, more human. When the kiss happened, it did not feel like a dramatic gesture designed to shock. It felt instinctive, brief, almost fragile. And because of that, it carried weight. The audience reaction was immediate, not because they were told to react, but because they sensed something genuine unfolding in real time. For a few seconds, the invisible barrier between performance and reality dissolved. What changed the atmosphere was not the act itself, but the sincerity behind it. The moment resisted interpretation as spectacle. Instead, it felt like a pause in the noise of celebrity culture, a reminder that even under scrutiny, authenticity can still surface. Once that sincerity is felt, the atmosphere can never quite return to what it was before. On-screen chemistry is often discussed as if it were a technical skill, something that can be trained, directed, or manufactured. But true chemistry behaves differently. It lingers. It softens scenes. It creates silences that feel meaningful rather than empty. Long before anything was confirmed, viewers sensed this quiet depth in their performances. Behind the scenes, chemistry rarely announces when it crosses into something more. It does not arrive with certainty or labels. It grows through repetition, shared schedules, shared exhaustion, shared understanding. Long days become familiar rhythms. Emotional scenes leave traces that do not disappear once the cameras stop rolling. What makes this transition so compelling is its ordinariness. There was no sudden revelation, no dramatic turning point. Just closeness, gradually becoming indispensable. That is why it resonates with audiences. It mirrors real emotional experiences, the way affection often grows unnoticed until it becomes impossible to ignore. This quiet crossing of a line is not dramatic, but it is profound. It transforms acting into something lived and fiction into something that breathes with genuine feeling. In an industry built on timing, image, and calculation, silence is often the safest option. Choosing to speak openly, especially without an obvious advantage, requires a different kind of courage. What stood out most was not the confession itself, but the absence of strategy surrounding it. There was no urgency, no promotional urgency, no carefully framed announcement designed to maximize attention. Instead, there was calmness, as though the truth no longer needed protection. That restraint gave the words weight. It suggested that this was not about shaping a narrative, but about releasing one. Speaking without strategy is risky. It invites scrutiny without offering control. Yet that vulnerability is precisely what made the moment powerful. The words felt unpolished, reflective, and sincere. They did not demand belief. They simply offered honesty. Audiences are highly sensitive to intention. They can sense when emotions are presented as tools rather than truths. In this case, the lack of visible calculation allowed viewers to listen rather than analyze. Courage here was not loud or defiant. It was quiet, grounded, and deeply human, and that made all the difference. Large declarations fade quickly. Small, unguarded moments do not. What stays with viewers are not the headlines, but the details that feel impossible to rehearse. A glance held a moment longer than expected, a gesture made without awareness of the audience. These fragments carry emotional truth because they escape intention. Such details resonate because they are recognizable. They resemble the ways people express care in private, not in performance. When someone instinctively reaches out, adjusts, reassures, those actions reveal comfort built over time. They suggest familiarity, not presentation. Viewers replay these moments not out of obsession, but out of instinct. They search for meaning in what feels unfiltered. In a world saturated with controlled images, authenticity becomes visible precisely because it is imperfect. These details are not dramatic on their own, yet collectively they form a narrative stronger than any statement. They whisper rather than announce, and that subtlety invites trust. Once viewers recognize that trustworthiness, those moments remain imprinted. They are remembered not as evidence, but as feeling, and feeling is what lasts. Public revelations often divide audiences. Expectations clash, illusions shatter, and disappointment follows. Yet in this case, the dominant emotion was not loss, but relief. Fans did not feel misled. They felt acknowledged. For a long time, admiration existed quietly. Support remained respectful. Observations were made without entitlement. When the truth emerged, it did not erase those experiences. It completed them. Fans recognized their own emotional intelligence, reflected back at them. Pride came from the sense that care had been mutual, that boundaries were respected, that honesty arrived without exploiting anticipation. This kind of revelation does not invalidate the audience's emotional investment, it validates it. Instead of feeling excluded, fans felt trusted. Instead of resentment, there was warmth. The story unfolded not as a rupture, but as a continuation. That is why the reaction was gentle rather than volatile. Pride, in this context, was not about possession. It was about witnessing growth, about seeing two people choose sincerity while still honouring those who had supported them quietly along the way. At its surface, this is a story about two public figures, but beneath that layer lies something broader, a reflection of what audiences long for in modern media. People are increasingly weary of performance without substance. They crave moments that feel uncurated, even if only briefly. This story resonates because it offers reassurance. It suggests that sincerity has not disappeared, only become rarer. In a culture of constant presentation, restraint becomes meaningful. Silence becomes expressive. Authentic emotion becomes an act of quiet resistance. Beyond celebrity, the story speaks to shared human experience. The desire to protect something private before it is ready. The fear of exposure. The relief that comes with honesty. These are universal emotional themes, regardless of status. That is why the moment transcends gossip. It becomes symbolic. It reminds viewers that connection still matters, that emotional truth still finds its way through layers of image and expectation. And when it does, people recognize it instinctively. If you enjoyed this kind of storytelling, where emotion meets insight, don't forget to subscribe to LVT-SHOWBIZ for more thoughtfully told stories from the world of entertainment. Thank you for watching, for listening, and for sharing these moments with us. Stay curious, stay kind, and we'll see you in the next video.